for a long time.
Well, for a wee while there, I was having a lot of problems with any form of doing lives and anywhere
Hmm.
on Facebook, and it kept it would go live for a couple of seconds and then it would just banish me. And I think we are live.
We're live.
Hold on, hold on. I always like to just double check on the phone. Yay! It is live. Look, we're here. We're here.
That's us.
Right, my angels, how are we all? So as you can see, we are live and we have a man in the group of women, honorary women for today though. So we're going to be talking about self-development. So a bit of a blanket overview of self-development, the whys, the hows, the whens, the whos, everything you need to know. And the reason that I have invited this fellow ginger in is first of all to make me feel slightly less ginger, but because that I have known Sam now for 4 years, 3 years.
Yeah, I think it must be 4.
Yeah.
When did you start your business?
Yeah, so Sam has been a thorn in my side, a shoulder to cry on, a hand to hold, a verbal punch bag for the last 4 years. And as he says, has been with me since the creation of me moving into online health coaching rather than just being in-person fitness. So he has seen it all, warts and all. It's been a very helpful, positive addition into my life. So Sam is a man that I trust, and he has been, from the point of view of self-development, he's probably one of the more advanced people I know in terms of the thinking behind it and how powerful it can be. And his passion for that has really positively impacted me, but also hundreds, possibly thousands, hundreds of other
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot by
across
now.
the world, not just in this tiny little dot of the UK, but across the US and Australia and other wild and wonderful places.
It's been a hell of a journey.
A big welcome to you, Sam. So ladies, you might have questions as we go. If you do, pop them in the comments of the live stream. I'll be trying to dip in and out. I may forget, but I'll try not to, I promise. So if you do have any questions as we go, or anything that you want to share, then pop it in the comments and we'll obviously try and get to it. So I've booked out an hour. I don't know how long, Sam, you've got. If you're here for 10 minutes, then we're screwed.
No, you're fine. I've got an hour too. So
fabulous. Yes. So
I'm all yours.
You'll be here for an hour, ladies. If you can't see the full hour, no worries. This is on replay as well. So I think the best place to start would be for you. I've done an amazing introduction, obviously, but I would like to hear a bit of an intro from you, who you are, what you stand for, where you're from, what you do, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody can get to know you a little bit.
There we go. You want to know the bio? There it is. It's really interesting to hear, like, trying to figure out how long we've known each other. Because last time, when we originally spoke was when you didn't have your online business and you was working in your garage gym. And I believe you were charging, I think we worked out as like £3 an hour for your, and that was the very first time that you cried on a call with me.
And actually, this is quite apt. So yesterday, I said to you earlier, I had a funeral, so I got really emotional yesterday morning when I was doing a live in this group. So I want people to know that I actually don't cry that much, but that's quite 2 examples in the last 2 days.
Hey, sharing emotion is powerful. It needs to be done. So my journey. So I was very fortunate kind of growing up. I'm not going to go into all the details and stuff there. If you've ever read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's quite literally my youth there. I was the sporty guy, the one that was set for sporting fame and athleticism as such. So I ended up studying sports coaching at university in Cardiff. After the first mad freshers year, I was like, okay, I'm not down for this life. And I knew that ultimately I wanted to do something different. And for me, that was to continue coaching, but not in the UK. So I moved straight to the UAE, moved to Dubai, and lived there for a couple of years, coaching CrossFit, coaching powerlifting, coaching weightlifting, gymnastics. And that was my first exposure to coaching a lot of people. We would coach hundreds and hundreds of people, and I worked with some of the best coaches that I've personally ever worked with at the time. And let's say that made me grow up very, very quickly. Was moving abroad and going solo, arriving at the airport, knowing no one. So that was a little bit of a fast track for me. And I ended up still being a coach on the gym floor for multiple years. I was coaching in Dubai. I coached a little bit in Abu Dhabi. I then moved to Thailand for a year, was coaching in Thailand. And I was very fortunate. I was coaching some powerlifting seminars, moving basically gym to gym, country to country, and coaching. And that enabled me to kind of hone my skills of working with people, which then transitioned into more business, more self-development, personal development. And that's where really I started my journey of working with people online. Was that from working on the gym floor, and there was one moment where I remember I was coaching a class of around 30 people, and I was demonstrating some movements, going through a warm-up, and in my head I was thinking about what I was gonna have for lunch. And it was that moment for me that I was like, okay, I need to change. I need to do something different. And then, yeah, that moved into business, which is where I met Emma, and have been exposed to helping people with their businesses, helping personal trainers, online coaches over the last couple of years, and been very fortunate and able to travel a lot during that time, and had a lot of exposure to the self-development world, and helping people really become the best version of themselves. Yeah, there's a million stories within that, but that's a quick overview of where we're at right now. I'm based in the southwest of England, near Bristol, a place called Weston-super-Mare. I got a little base here, was planning to travel, but the old lockdown hit us, and here we are 2 years later. It's the longest I've stayed still. And yeah, still in.
It must be really hard for you actually, because I think, yeah, that must be the longest you've stayed in one place.
Yeah, it really has. It's the least amount of countries I've traveled in a year for probably since I was about 16. Yeah, which is quite crazy.
Where's the first place you're gonna go?
I've got a couple of events that I'm going to be coaching at in the US start of next year. I'm going to try and get some Europe trips this quarter. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
I hear Scotland's nice this time of year.
I've done a little trip up in Scotland. The only difficulty I had was when I was in Scotland was cell service. You just can't get connection. I was really up in the sticks. And yeah, I ended up taking about 3 days off work simply because I couldn't connect to the internet. I was like, oh, what a shame. What a shame. I'm going to have to take a break.
Oh, that's nuts. That's nuts.
Good times.
Yeah, cool. Fabulous. All right. So tell me, so once you had that whole experience of you're standing there trying to coach somebody how to do a snatch, and I'm only using that word because it makes me laugh every time I talk about snatching, but
you're 16 again.
What did you do after that? You're like, oh, I need to do something different. This is not serving me or the people I'm working with. What came next?
Yeah, so it was whilst I was in Dubai, I read a book, a very cliche book by Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week. I think everyone has that book that's that trigger for them. And that for me was something that ultimately exposed me to there being a different life, there being something else that I could do. I didn't have to stay in one place, stay in one gym. I didn't have to just coach at the time it was a lot of people, but I knew that I could coach more people than what was just in my local gym in Dubai. And that was then that trigger for me of, okay, I want to do something else. I want to push the limits of what I can do. And that progressed to me coaching seminars in different countries. And I would go to a gym, coach some powerlifting for a day or two, and then kind of move on. And then I started to get into business. ultimately I kind of got an opportunity thrown my way that it was too good to turn down at the time. I was looking for a change away from being on the gym floor. I didn't want to be on the gym floor when I was, 40, 50 years old. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But for me at that time, I'd been doing that. I had probably close to, 5, 6, 7,000 hours of coaching on the gym floor. Because I was full time for many, many years doing it. So yeah, I was looking for a change, looking for a break. And the possibilities of business and the amount of people that I could then coach. Yeah, it was too good to turn down.
It is nuts, isn't it, when you get that little spark that says there's something else, but you don't know what it is yet. And it's like that, oh my God. But one of the big things that I do quite a lot of work in this group and in our client group as well is about, if you get that spark of I want more, or there's something else that I can do, at that point, what put you off? What beliefs did you have, that those little negative thoughts that popped in that said you can't do this?
Yeah.
What were they, and how did you overcome them?
It was petrifying. It was absolutely petrifying. I remember first making the move away from coaching on the gym floor. I was basically going against every piece of advice from everyone I knew. So yeah, it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. But what really helped me during that time was actually looking at my worst case scenario. And I'm getting really clear on, okay, what is my worst case scenario? If I take this leap and I fast forward 3 months time, 6 months time, things don't go my way, what is my worst case scenario? And for me at that time, my worst case scenario was like, okay, I could move in with my parents. I could move in with family at home. I could get myself a job and be able to pay all the bills if I needed to. And when I broke that down of like my worst case scenario, if I take this leap, it wasn't that bad. I would always be able to come out of that situation. Now, obviously at that time I had very little responsibilities. It's a very different position. But even so, it gave me the courage to be like, it's okay for me to take this risk. It's okay for me to take that leap. And of course, you can spin that to be, what if it does work out? And the thought of that for me was like exhilarating. I could have been, and I was traveling around the world, could be in any country I wanted to be, all working from my laptop while serving and coaching hundreds, if not thousands of people. So that was a great place to be. So yeah, I worked out my worst case scenario and basically made a calculated risk of like, I'm okay with that. If that's my worst case, I'll be fine.
I love that.
I'll figure it out.
I absolutely love that whole, there's so much fear about doing things differently, or even just doing things a little bit different from where we are now. And I did a live, I don't know if anybody's on this live had seen the one that I did a couple of weeks ago about fight the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
And we got all so caught up in the negative voices and the ones that saying you can't do it, or you shouldn't do it, or you shouldn't take the risk. And well, what's the alternative? Like staying in the here and now. And if that's okay, if that's fine, then that's fine. But yeah, shit goes wrong all the time. You could get hit by a bus. Absolutely, bad things happen. But what if it goes right? What if it goes the way that you want it to do? How does that then positively impact your life? And it's that hope, I suppose, and that little spark of glow at the end that makes it, well, for me, that's what makes it all worthwhile. So it's, yeah, absolutely.
I think for me, I'm one of those guys as well that overthinks everything.
Oh,
like
shit,
everything, as you can tell. So I knew also that if I didn't take that opportunity, that would sit with me like terribly too. So it was almost as if I had no choice but to take that leap. I had no choice but to take that opportunity, because in my own mind I knew that if I didn't, I'd be so frustrated, so annoyed with myself. And yeah, there's been one opportunity that I regret turning down, and it was like 10, 12 years ago or something now. No, maybe less, maybe 8 to 10 years, and it still plays on my mind to this day.
Oh, what was it?
I was offered a coaching. Basically, I was setting up a company where I would do guest coaching So because I was already fortunate enough, I traveled multiple countries. I was very qualified as a coach. I'd done a considerable amount of qualifications. I wanted to set up that if a gym needed a temporary coach, I would fly to that gym, coach short term, and then move on. There's still a huge opportunity for this. I just don't have the capacity to set it up just yet. And I booked in a few different places, but I was offered a 6-month contract in Alaska.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And at the time I was only taking 3-month maximum stay locations. So I turned it down because I'd already accepted another place. But yeah, I wish I'd have taken that role.
You do know it's quite cold.
It would have been yeah, a little brisk. A little brisk. But yeah, that was one thing. So to go back to kind of the moral of that story is that when these opportunities come up, for me, the thought of not taking them is worse than the repercussion of taking that risk.
Absolutely. So you had a light bulb moment at the 4-hour work week, which doesn't exist. I've yet to find the 4-hour work week, but the whole premise at the time was absolutely valid. So since then, how have you ensured, or what's your development journey been like? So what have you done, or do you force yourself to do to continually be in that space of always learning, always getting better?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it started a whole new journey that is, again, terrifying at the start. And at the time, I didn't really understand it. I didn't know that it was self-development, personal development that I was doing. I was just trying to learn more about business, psychology, people, in a way that, okay, how can I help? How can I help the people I'm coaching be better versions of themselves? How can I selfishly, put myself in a position where I can succeed? So when I started that book, when I started that journey and moved around, first of all, it was the hardest thing. Because at the time I was going against, this was when like social media wasn't really kicking off yet. It was when, people didn't really talk about mental health, personal development, and these things. Nobody worked online for their business. And there was me kind of chasing it. So yeah, it was very confrontational is a way that I kind of put it. But once I'd read enough, once I'd learned enough, I realized ultimately about, how much potential there was if I could get control of my own emotions and my own disciplines and my own routines and habits. And every book you read, and I mean, you can probably see in the background of my stuff here, but every book you read, and every successful person had their own set routines, non-negotiables, and habits that they would use and implement for themselves. So I tried everything. And I'm sure you've done the same. I tried every single personal development trick in the book. And for the longest time, I would have spikes of performance in certain areas of my life. But something else would always drop off. So if I was working heavily on my personal fitness and my health, my business would suffer or my relationships would suffer. If I was working heavily on business, my personal health would drop significantly. I had a terrible time when I started working in the business. Relationships, I'd always struggle with relationships with family and friends whilst I was always traveling. So my exposure to that self-development over the years, it started as like sprints in certain subjects and certain topics. Whereas now I've come to the realization is that, I can't just win at one of those things. I have to win at all of them. And that's what's changed for me, is like, I can't let my health suffer for me to grow the business. I can't let the business drop down for me just to always focus on the relationships. There has to be an equal balance across them all. So from a point of what has worked for me in self-development has been, first of all, trying everything, trying all the advice, the meditation, the reading, the journaling, the visualization, the affirmations, the exercise, every tip, trick, I tried it. But it was finding which ones truly worked for me and which ones made me feel like I was performing my best. And actually ended up dropping some of those, because I used to have a routine that was like an hour and a half long just before I'd even want to talk to someone. And you quite quickly realize that that's just not going to happen as you get a little bit older and more responsibilities and little ones running around and dogs, and yeah, not going to happen. So yeah, finding my own non-negotiables, learning what those were, that's what's helped me with my growth.
Yeah, it's
I went off on some tangents there.
Always, I wouldn't expect anything else. But yeah, talking about the routine thing, I've been there myself, where I've been sitting at my desk at 9:30, having done affirmations and gratitude journaling and my yoga, and something has to give. And certainly from my own point of view, very similar to you, there's some things now that I just know isn't even going to be worth my while. Like, see, anything that comes to me and I go, this is just woo woo floaty, like I'm not going to do it. I've found there's still things I know that I will change in my routine over time, but at the moment I'm in a really good place where, right, this is enough for me to feel focused, but it's not too long that I feel as if it's eaten into,
sometimes it's an excuse for procrastination is what I found. Like, I was using those tools as like, cool, if I do these, I'm being productive. But I wasn't looking after my health. I wasn't doing what I needed to do for the business. I was just like seeming busy for the sake of it.
That is quite interesting, because when I think to non-negotiables, my own personal non-negotiables have actually found their way into what we teach our clients as common sense, a lot of them, to be fair. But when we get those non-negotiables right, everything else starts to become easier. And when you're starting to build non-negotiables and you do them and they become part and parcel of who you are and your identity, then it just becomes a habit and a passion.
Becomes easy.
It's exactly what we want to achieve. Yeah, love it. So when say you get to a point, you're like, right, okay, you feel like, for me, this is certainly how it goes. I feel like I'm on a curve, and then I maybe plateau off, and then I'll get an inkling, or maybe a wee touch of a bit bored, or that there's something else to do. How does that look like for you? And then what do you do? How do you tackle that?
Yeah, so for me, when I lose that motivation, or I lose that feeling of like feeling good, you start to have those doubts. You start to question what you're doing, the direction you're going in. For me, that's typically a signal or a sign that I have been skipping some of my non-negotiables, and I've been letting things slip. Whether I've known about it or not, it's that I've let my own personal habits start to fade away. And it's normally just a string of a few bad days in a row, and we feel like the whole month is ruined. We feel like everything we've done in that year has been for nothing, when actually it's, you had too many glasses of wine on the weekend, you didn't sleep very well, you started Monday, you didn't prepare for your week, your calendar's really busy and packed out, and you're just stressed. That's it. You've skipped eating some good healthy meals. You haven't gone outside, right? These relatively basic fundamental things for a few days in a row have slipped. Now all of a sudden we're questioning everything we're doing in business, in life. We're questioning relationships, but it's not. All you need to do is get your own personal non-negotiables and those fundamentals back in place and revisit this. Try and get some sleep, try and get 6-7 hours of sleep, good quality sleep a night for a week in a row. Do your movement, get outside in nature, get your 8,000 steps in a day, go to the gym, lift some weights 3-4 times a week, put the alcohol down, right? Do that for a week and then revisit some of these questions that you've got, because you'll be in a considerably better place. It won't seem so dark.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful place to come from, because there's a tendency of it all being very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, say, you know, if nobody's ever tackled any form of development, you know, it can just seem like, oh my God, I've got to learn all this stuff. And it's not like that at all. Like, a lot of it is going back to your basics of, you know, moving more, drinking more water, exercising, eating more fruit and veg. But then when you've got that nailed, it's like, what next?
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, I tend to go by a subject. Like, I want to tackle a subject. So, like earlier on this year, I was looking more at marketing. And like, marketing is a topic.
Learning more. Oh,
trying to
God.
get my head around that.
Welcome to the world. That's a whole new level of stress.
But then later on in the year, I've gone much more into manifestation and how does that all work, because that's never really been an area that I've looked at. And you know, how does this work? How do we overcome our limiting beliefs? How do we change the stories that we tell ourselves?
Love that.
And that has been really, really powerful for me, because it's not like, if you just said 2 years ago, let's talk about manifestation, I would have gone, no way.
Law of attraction.
When you feel, you know, a lot of times it's when you feel ready, and I suppose that's part and parcel of the whole manifestation process. But it's just interesting how I try and go through topics, and I think that's probably how my mind works more than anything else. But then sometimes you're forced to have to develop. Like, when I first started working with you, I was forced to deal with you know, all the things that health coaches don't really want to deal with, which is like marketing, and how do we package our program up? How do we get new clients? How do we create, you know, something robust that people can go and get success with? But you have to do it. Like, if you want to succeed, you're gonna have to do those things.
Yeah. So that was a big learning curve for me. I was very fortunate. I worked at a Reebok gym, and they would host all of the qualifications and certifications. So in the span of about 2 years, I'd probably gone through 15,000 to 20,000 pounds worth of courses in like a really short period of time. And I was very comfortable in a, you know, coaching scenario in front of really hundreds of people. It was fine. Put me there. I'm confident. But what I come to realize was that it wasn't the best coach that had the best paycheck at the end of the month. It was the best marketer. It was the best salesman. And that gave me then exposure to like this whole new world out there, and these other things I needed to develop as a person. And I think that's important for everyone, is that, you know, I say right now they might be focusing on nutrition. Right. As soon as you finish that, you realize, okay, a lot of the nutrition is still based on what I'm doing for my training. For me to recover, I need to understand sleep. Right. And it just stacks every single time. And I think to apply that to self-development, and we've gone through loads of different things that you can do, but it starts as just doing one. It starts about learning about one of these that you know works for you. The approach, or one of the best books that I read on this, was the Hal Elrod, I think it's Miracle Morning, and he uses savers, which is the silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scripting. Scripting is journaling. Is that you don't have to do all 6 of those at all, but start with one that works for you and develop that. Make that a habit. Make that something that becomes a fun experience for you. And once that is set into your routine, whether that's morning, whether that's evening, whether that's lunchtime, then experiment with another. And that's how you start to stack. And I think for you, you've probably gone through that journey. Now you're going through that journey and learning, and things change as you grow and as you learn more.
It's absolutely baffling, isn't it? Like, I posted about this when at times it all seems really hard and impossible, but it was the whole Roger Bannister thing. Like, everybody been trying to run that sub 4 minute mile, hadn't they? And then nobody could do it. But then the minute somebody did it, everybody could do it. And it's I suppose it's giving yourself permission to believe that anything is possible. You know, anything is possible. And it might seem a bit like, whoa, but that's those negative Nancy voices in your head, really, isn't it? It's like, Clap them
Yeah,
down.
I put a post out, I don't know, it was probably a couple of days ago, and it was most people are abiding by the limitations that others have put on them. You're like, whoa, that's some heavy stuff. That's some heavy stuff.
It does get quite heavy at times, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so from your point of view, what has been the single best book or course or training that you have done that's raised your standards, has made you better? Oh, that's a good question. I should have let you know that one.
I mean, that's a very big question. Let me just quickly spin around because I've got multiple. I have like a section just for my favorite books.
That's a good one.
Can I cheat a little bit?
Yeah, of course you can.
Can I cheat a little bit? I'm gonna pick. I pick one I think that you've read because I think you'll enjoy it. But Atomic Habits.
Oh, I love it.
Incredible for understanding the implications of your own personal actions. If you're a little bit of a nerd like me and you like the psychology and the science behind it, but Psycho-Cybernetics.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Incredible. Just to learn about, ultimately how we do hold ourselves back, and these false beliefs that we ultimately create for ourselves. Those two have been very, very powerful books. I mean, obviously for me, my trigger book was The 4-Hour Workweek, but that's changed a lot, I think, over the years. Then a couple of things. One of the books that I'm reading right now, which has been really enlightening, I've listened to it a couple of times, is it's actually Happy Sexy Millionaire, I think, by Stephen Bartlett, which is never a book I thought I would be recommending, but I've listened to it a few times and it's highly rated, which is quite cool. But yeah, I wasn't expecting that question. That was a good one.
No.
Good one.
What's to turn it on its head? What's been the worst? What have you not been able to finish, or what has made you just throw it away in disgust and rage?
Good question. There's been a couple actually, because if I don't like the book within the first couple of pages or even the first chapter, I'm like, cool, I'm not going to waste my time. I think it's Never Eat Alone is one of those that I pretty much just like started reading. I was like, okay, I'm not into this. There was another one which is How to Win Friends, I think. I can't remember the full name. Yeah. I think I started reading that. I was just like, no, not into this right now. I could probably reread them now and I'd have a much different approach. Yeah. But at the time when I started reading them, I was like, yeah, not interested.
That one really baffled me because I don't actually believe that I learned anything.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of it's not aged particularly well because what he teaches in that is
changed.
A couple of decades. Yeah. And it's basically just don't be a dick to people.
Yeah. Who knew?
Like,
you need to read. If you need to read a book about that, you're probably in a little bit of trouble.
I know.
Your worries.
But yeah, I didn't finish that one either. To be fair. I'm trying to think. What have I? There's been so many. Absolutely, so many.
I think I know which one you might say.
No, Mindset, Carol Dweck. Really enjoyed that, which I didn't think. It took me a long time to even.
Which one was that? Sorry.
Mindset, Carol Dweck. I think her name is.
That.
Been quite good. The Chimp Paradox.
Yeah.
Baffled me for most of it, but I get it, and I certainly recognise quite a lot.
That's probably come at, within some of your coaching as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Those negative Nancy voices. I'm just looking through all the books. I really enjoyed a Hal Elrod one, but I think it's the medical equation that I enjoyed more than medical one. Yeah, but there's loads, and I've got my wish list on Amazon is huge, but I have to. This one, I've not read this yet, but this one was recommended by a mutual friend of ours, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
That's cool.
Bit of a funny story. So the guy who recommended it told me on a Zoom call the name. So it's a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza. But when he was telling me, it's got quite a Northern English accent, and I wrote it down as Dr. Jonas Spencer. So I was trying desperately to find Dr. Jonas Spencer's books, and Dr. Jonas Spencer does not exist.
Amazing, love it.
Okay, and this one.
Yeah, daily stoic. Yeah, I mean it's just a daily.
I love it.
That's just a daily. I'm like surrounded by books. Most of mine right now are like fulfillment, really, and like I've got loads of stuff here.
That's where your passion is just now. That's where you're growing your business on.
Yeah, yeah, it's exciting.
Sorry, I had another question for you.
Is there any questions in the chat? I can't see your group.
No, not yet.
Nothing.
Joanne says she likes the sound of doing the worst case scenario. In fact, Jo's quite a good example because she's just starting out on her coaching journey. So she's actually working with us, but she's building out her coaching journey.
Yeah. If you want to learn more on that, there's a TED talk by Tim Ferriss called Fear Setting, which is extremely powerful. Where rather than determining your goals, you determine your fears.
Oh.
Very good.
Helen is asking, what about time management? How do you fit everything in?
It's a good question. This has been something I think everyone struggles with, but something that's just developed over time for me. So just to give it a bit of an insight into what I'm doing right now. So I have my own coaching company where I work alongside a small group of people and ultimately helping personal trainers, online coaches build and scale their coaching business. So that's one part of what I do. And then I also consult for currently 3 different companies on the side where I manage some of their teams and help them scale their coaching team within their business. The challenge I have is multiple time zones. So that's definitely keeping me on my toes. What I do with actual time management for me is just all in the planning on a weekend and setting. Ultimately, I put my personal stuff that I want to do first within my calendar because those are my non-negotiables. And if they're not in place, I don't perform very well at all. So those for me is exercise. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned over the years. It's incredibly important for me just to feel like I'm making progress in any area of my life. So I schedule my exercise, including actually writing down the programming that I'm doing for each of those sessions. Then I've now basically moved my schedule around so that I serve all of my personal clients for my own business on a Monday, move them all to that one day. Then I've opened up my own calendar for the other companies that I run and their clients so they can book in on certain days. And then I've actually scheduled in ultimately when I take time off. So I know that because my Monday and Tuesdays can be pretty intense, a Wednesday morning is very relaxed. For example, this is my first meeting of the day.
We're honored.
And that's intentional, is because my Monday, Tuesday, I work a lot, and I'm delivering multiple reports to multiple companies, managing multiple teams. There's a lot of good stress that comes from that. So Wednesday, I know that I'm typically relatively tired, so I schedule that in. And then also I take that into account on a Friday, is I minimize as many calls as I can be on, and finish early on a Friday, because that's the flexibility that I want to have, and that's how I'm able to consistently show up for all the companies that I work for, work alongside, and my own company, is because I've designed my week to a point where it's fun for me. I enjoy this. So I'm one of those guys that rarely takes holiday because I don't need to. Like, things are good. I'm very fortunate in that way. But yeah, the planning on a Sunday is huge for me. Blocking out my calendar and sticking to that and having boundaries, strict boundaries on those, has been huge. And I never used to be that way. Emma will probably tell you could message me at any point, any day, and I'd respond. But yeah, I've got better at not doing that.
Yeah,
it's a big thing.
Do you take time? Do you diarize time weekly for self-development based activities?
Yes. So every Tuesday morning, I go to a coffee shop. Basically, I finish my training session for that morning, come home, shower, change, straight to a coffee shop, And then I pretty much have about 2 hours in that coffee shop where I'm ultimately creating content, scheduling content, and reviewing where I'm at with the business. That doesn't include the work that I do on a Sunday of like preparation for the week. But yeah, the coffee shop for me, music on, nice strong coffee, laptop aside, just sit there with my notepad. Yeah, it's incredibly useful.
I do the same. I'm a Thursday morning kind of a girl for my development, but I tend to, it doesn't, I sometimes go to a coffee shop, but I just get out of my office. I
Yeah.
just have to not be here.
Yeah.
And I either use it for reading time or potentially
Yeah.
journaling time.
And just to note as well, because I think it's important to show the other side of this is, for me, I have a lot of flexibility in my schedule, like during the day and stuff like that. But I do have meetings that can be terrible times too. Because I manage a team where one of the coaches is in Japan and on the same team, someone else is in California. That's 8 hours ahead, 8 hours behind. Once every 2 weeks, I'm having a meeting at 11 p.m. On a Thursday. So that's like the other side of working online that people don't see very often, is that I've got loads of flexibility with my schedule during the week, but there are certain times that I can still be working at 8 p.m. at night multiple times. But it's just I get to pick and choose when I'm doing that. So yeah, that's not talked about very often. I'm sure you've sat at your desk and had many late nights too.
Oh yeah, I remember when I was still doing, if you remember, for a wee while, I was still doing a lot of in-persons. In fact, up until when COVID hit, I was still doing some limited in-person coaching. So I would be doing something at 6:30 in the morning, and then I would be finishing up consultations at 9 o'clock at night. And this year I have been really strict on my calendar. Like I've
Cool.
hard lines that I don't work
you have to
Sunday anymore, and I don't even do, like, you're very good at being organized on the Sunday. I try and have a complete detox on a Sunday, and I do all my planning on the Friday, kind of just when the schools finish, so that I know that when I close the laptop,
you're good.
I'm away.
Yeah.
And that's worked really well for me. And yeah, the flexibility is great, and that my calendar's I can do whatever I need to do.
I think
I can meet
it's important that flexibility comes from discipline in those boundaries, discipline in the scheduling and the organization. Because if I didn't do that, if I didn't have the discipline to do those things, I wouldn't have the flexibility. It wouldn't work. So you have to have that discipline in certain areas. Otherwise, you can be where I've been before, where you're working 60 hours a week, earning hardly anything, struggling to get by, wondering why it's not working. That's not a fun place to be.
No. Oh no, it's stressful. I've been there myself. Very, very stressful indeed. Cool. So if actually this was a question that is appropriate but wasn't really why we're here, but just seeing Joanne was in the group and Helen, and she's another one that's embarking on the coaching life. Where should someone start? So say somebody wants to go into coaching, whether it's health coaching or business coaching, whatever the coaching is, what would you recommend people do?
So do you mean to get support, or to actually, what like steps would they take to get the first couple of clients and so on?
No, just like how to expand on that initial spark of, I actually would quite like, I've got an area that I can specialize in, and I would like other people to get better with my skills.
Yeah. So for me, one of the best things that I done was ultimately like intern. It was to go and get that behind the scenes access to companies that allow me to see the work that they were doing. Because it's I think especially with online, you see, oh yeah, this person's doing this, it looks amazing, we see that highlight reel, but you don't actually see the behind the scenes. The behind the scenes, pulling your hair out, the hours behind the desk, and so on. So if you truly are looking to build an online business, is either pay for mentoring, coaching, so you can fast track that, or go and intern and learn from someone that you see is doing what you want to do. There is an endless amount of books that are going to give you instruction too. but nothing is the same until you pull that trigger and actually make a decision to either get your first client on board or to speak on a call with someone. Until then, it will just continue to be a fantasy, an idea, and probably something that will tear you up, if it's anything like me, for an opportunity that you didn't take.
It's scary, isn't it, though? Like, I had, like, before I started working with you, I had this idea. I was like, yeah, I want to reach more people, and I can go bigger, and I can go online, and I'm not going to be freezing cold and freezing my tits off at 5 o'clock in the morning in my garage. But if I had just continued with that being a thought, like, I thought I knew what I was going to be doing online, but I had no clue. And I can only, like, the time it must take people, like, I am now of the opinion, like, after you were my very first investment into coaching, and the thought of how long it would taken me to get to where I am now if I had not done that actually terrifies me, because I don't think I would even have been able to scratch the surface.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see where you'd be right now.
Yeah. Oh, I would still be doing. Oh, no.
I remember the slow, like, breakdown of when we were looking at your numbers initially, and when we were looking at obviously what you were doing to serve your clients at the time, and I think the realization hit you, I think, during that time, and that was obviously when the tears hit. But I think that also was then a very, like, that was almost a trigger for you. It was like, okay, I can't continue like this. I have to do something. And obviously then you got exposure to what was possible. And, it was a lot of learning, a lot of hard work, more than sure, many more tears, many more risks, right? That's the only way to put it. You've taken many, many risks. But yeah, for someone just starting out, there is so much opportunity out there. So much opportunity out there. But it's not going to land on your feet. You have to be the one that takes the charge and takes the lead. And I say, go do your research, go read all the books, go and speak to all the different mentors, the coaches, go and start speaking to potential clients, learn more ultimately. And at some point you'll feel ready, or arguably not ready, but at some point you have to take that leap.
Honestly, I say this a lot in these lives. I say this a lot to clients and potential clients. There is never going to be a perfect time. Like, our audience is all women in their 40s and their 50s, some in their 60s. Like, there is no right time. You're always going to be busy. Something else is always going to, like, the kids always.
I think there's comfort in that too.
Yeah, I know. There's an element of, we've gotten so used to these excuses and reasons why we can't do anything because we're so busy and not in the right headspace. But the big question is, if not now, when? And if it's a never, then it's a never. It's fine, but we have to accept.
I don't know if you can read that, but it says you do not have time. So, like, I got these little post-it notes around me always, but that's one that, like, pressures me. Like you said, if not now, when?
Because if it's a never, then it's a never. But if we can get comfort from the fact that we made a decision that it's never, then at least we can you can move on and accept that that's the case. Yeah. So the best time was 20 years ago. The best time was now.
Yeah, tell me about it. I'd have bought some shares in Amazon, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was reading. You might be too young for this, but you'll heard of a band called Guns N' Roses. I'm sure, even at your youth age, right? So I am obsessed with Guns N' Roses. But the bass player is a guy called Duff McKagan, and he was a complete drug fuck, alcoholic. His pancreas nearly exploded, and he wrote a book. But basically, he wrote his autobiography, and it's really interesting. But he talks about how he developed himself in financial skills, and he now has his own business doing accountancy and
that's cool.
Financial for other musicians. But he's from Seattle, and he invested in Apple and Starbucks and Amazon all at the same time when it was like literal pennies. And now he is like one of the wealthiest men in the world.
Crazy. Love it. One of the best financial books I could recommend would be Richest Man in Babylon. The principles in that book are brilliant.
I don't think I've read that one.
Read that.
How to Own the World. And
Andrew Craig.
I need to get it on my Kindle because like, this is such an old lady thing to say, but the font's really small in the book.
That's amazing. I love that.
Just like that, you're peering at it. let me just see what else we've got. So Helen says, invest in your self-development is beyond important. Time and money. I'd never realised this and it served me well. Knowledge, knowledge. I'm a knowledgeable monster. Yes, you are. So Helen is one of our, she's no longer a client. She was a client of ours. And now she is retraining to become a health and nutrition coach.
Amazing.
And you'll like this one. She is a strong woman competitor now. So from somebody who, I think it was 18 months ago, couldn't even get out of bed, to now she's competing in strong women competition.
Incredible. Helen, piece of advice, keep sharing your story, because there will be so many people that need to hear that story.
Yes, we did a Q&A like this.
Amazing.
Let me see, what else did I want to ask? Development, what does it mean to you? Somebody wants to coach how to do it. Where should we get our start? What's next for you? How do you keep developing? What are you going to be looking at, focusing on now?
Yeah, I'm in a amazing place right now. I'm in a very fortunate place. I'm launching or essentially relaunching my business this week, actually tomorrow, which is kind of crazy. Well, I'll be helping fit pros to build a high performance coaching team that allows them to scale. So that's super exciting. Virtually where you were 2 years ago was obviously you went through the process of building a team of people around you, and that's allowed you to then serve and help more people. I'm going to show people how to do that. Ultimately, take them from a solopreneur to a business owner, which is really exciting. And then I also do want to continue developing the consulting that I'm doing right now. I'm working with some really, really big companies, going in, reviewing their team, reviewing their systems, reviewing their programs. And I want to develop that because there's huge potential. And it's really exciting. I'm getting exposure to multiple different industries. I've been working in financial industry, real estate, marketing agencies, other FitPro companies. And that's been a really steep learning curve, but it's been incredible. And then, personally, I've got some exciting things going on, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro next year, which would be cool, raising money for Calm, the mental health charity for men, which is super exciting. And I want to travel to 50 countries total in the next 3 years, ideally. So I got 20 to go, or about 15 to go. Wow. So lots going on.
If you obviously if you're consulting for all these companies abroad, you being a natural ginger will not be able to deal with the sunshine. I am not a natural ginger, so I can. So you can just send me to those.
Send you across. Hey, I actually do all right in the sun. I do all right. I've spent about a year of my life in America where I was pretty much in the sun, working full time, and I lived in Dubai for 3 years.
Your body's forgotten.
Yeah, don't know. I'll have to put it to the test.
Okay, so where can people find you? Should they want to follow your journey or anything? Give us a shameless plug. Come on.
Give a shameless plug. There we go. Honestly, you'll find me as a mutual friend of M on Facebook is probably one of the easiest ways. But on Instagram, it is Maine. It's MAINE and then 4 R's. You can find me on samuelmaine.com. You can find me on samuelmaine.co.uk.
Oh, you got a website?
Yeah, all fancy. But you'll be able to find me through mutual friends, and I'm on most social platforms, pretty much posting on every single one. I think I hate it, but I've even started a TikTok account. That's bad times, isn't it?
There's a girl.
Things business makes you do.
She is another ex-client of ours, and since working with us, she has lost 50 odd pounds. However, incredible. That's another shameless plug for me. But she is an epic TikToker. You should follow her. I don't know what her handle is, but it's Lisa Swallow, and she does the most amazing home videos.
That's awesome.
So much fun. I can't get my head around it, and I know I'm going
to. I see a lot of people have a lot of fun on it, but if you see me doing any dancing videos, just that's it. End it for me.
I know. It's something we need to get on it. I need to go on it. Okay. Did you have any questions or anything else that you wanted to?
No, it just really from my point of view, it's been amazing to see really the change in the last 3-4 years, however long it's been. It's been amazing to see that journey for you, for where you've started, and you've just gone all in. And And I think, there's obviously a lot of people here that are better off because they've got you in their life. And I don't think you ever give yourself enough credit. Actually, how much you've achieved and what you've done, because there's no secret to it. It's terrifying, it's heartbreaking, it's hard work, and everyone thinks that they can do it, but it's incredibly challenging, and you stood up every time. So yeah, mainly is you should be proud. You should be proud.
That is very nice to hear. Yeah, I am. See, when you see Helen jump in the comments and Joe and all these people that are, now understand and see that this continual development it doesn't need to be this scary place. It's just simply little things that you can do differently to get better results in every area of your life, like not just weight loss and health, but in career and relationships, everything. And I think I just love it. Genuinely love it. It's amazing. Love it. So with that, I think we're done. Let me just double check that we've got no more questions. Our mutual friend has messaged me while we've been talking, but he doesn't have a question. He doesn't have a question.
We've got lots of mutual friends, so I'm not entirely sure which one that is, but
it's one of our northern friends. Hey up, hey up.
Love it.
Oh dear. Right, Joanne says she did consider TikTok, which deleted it after 2 days. Clara, who is my head coach, she's actually on holiday and has been for 2 weeks. That's never happening again, Clara. Never happening again. It's too long. And Clara says, I'm looking banging. So thanks, doll.
Love it.
Fake tan and lipstick, all we need. And Joanne's deleted TikTok. Yep. Yeah. Helen says
just to cover, there's nothing wrong with TikTok. It's just not for me. Just to clarify.
No, it brings happiness to a lot of people. We might have found a whole new side of you. We don't know yet.
Maybe one of my clients has gone like completely viral on it. It's pretty wild. They had 200 coaching applications in, I think, about 2 days.
But what did they have to do to get that? I mean, like, really, did they have to dance? Did they have to prance about?
They probably dance. They do some wild stuff. It's quite funny. It's pretty cool. But yeah.
But that's a whole limiting belief of mine, is that whole, what if people think I'm making a complete tit of myself? That's a whole...
I've seen you do some wild stuff. I think that's the least of your worries at this point. Least of your worries.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Right, my lovelies who joined in live, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for contributing. Much appreciated. If you're catching it in replay, and if you do have any questions, what I would ask is just tag me in the questions so that I make sure I see the notification, because they're very, very easy to miss. So yeah. And ask questions, don't be, anything goes. As always, anything goes here. So if you want to know what lipstick I'm wearing or mascara, feel free. But yeah, so thank you very much, Mr. Rain. It was tremendous having you on.
No problem. It's good to see you. Really good. I appreciate having me on.
Fabulous. So good luck. You won't need it.
Thank you.
But good luck. Everything will be fabulous. I'll probably be chatting to you next week anyway. So
sounds good. Sounds good.
Right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your support as always. I can't close this down. Have an amazing day.
You can stop directly.
Right. Take care.
Got it.